Merlin Rothfeld.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Power Trading Radio. Merlin Rothfeld in with your weekend edition of Power Trading Radio. And hope you guys missed me over the last couple of days. I definitely missed you up in Concord. But we had a great time up there with the graduates and the prospects, kind of looking what are some of the opportunities in the financial markets and really realizing kind of there's ways that we can make money in these markets regardless of what's going on the grand macro scheme of things. Now, speaking of the grand macro scheme of things, I got a very special guest with us today. We've got Herb Meyer. Herb, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, and I have to read from the screen here because there are so many pieces to it, but Herb is under the Reagan administration, was Special Assistant to the Director of Central Intelligence and Vice Chairman of the CIA National Intelligence Council. That's not on your business card. That's a lot of stuff.
No, we don't put that on business cards.
Well, what I want to talk about today is your new book. You've written a ton of books out there, a lot of which I would encourage our listeners to go pick up, things like Hard Thinking, Real World Intelligence, The Siege of Western Civilization, which seems to be in theme with what we talk about here. But your new one called The Cure for Poverty, you guys can find it at thecureforpoverty.com, I think is very important because it ties into some of the issues that I guess many people aren't aware of. Let's talk about your book.
Well, the reason I wrote The Cure for Poverty is that we now have an entire generation of Americans who have never been taught how the free market works and how entrepreneurs create jobs. What they've never been taught is that an economy is an operating system. Mm-hmm. Just like a cell phone is an operating system. You know, if you want your cell phone to do something, make a call, surf the web, check your email, you have to do it the way the operating system is designed to work. Otherwise, it won't happen. Mm-hmm. Well, an economy is an operating system. You can have a command economy. You can have a free market economy. We're a free market economy. And if you wanted to do something, for example, create more jobs, you have to do it the way the operating system is designed to work. And in a free market, it's the entrepreneurs who create jobs. So if you want more jobs, then you create conditions in which entrepreneurs flourish. You know, if you want more milk, take care of the cows.
Right.
You can't say, I want milk, I hate cows. You know, it just doesn't work like that. So we wrote the book on The Cure for Poverty to explain to people, particularly younger people, how this actually works. Because obviously, politically, we're doing things that are incompatible with the operating system, and that's why we're in trouble.
And I guess, you know, going back to the phone analogy, you could take something like the iPhone example. It doesn't have a manual. The operating system is actually rather intuitive and easy to follow. Others have a very complex, hard to follow, doesn't make any sense type of operating system, which seems to be the political environment that we're in. Things seem very difficult to move forward and create new jobs, and one person may propose that, well, this is how you create jobs, or this is how you create jobs. And the truth is, those ways of creating jobs probably aren't going to work because, again, they don't line up with that operating system.
It's exactly right. In a free market, you have to take a leap of faith that if you create conditions in which entrepreneurs can flourish, they will go out and create new jobs, start new businesses, expand businesses. History teaches us they do. That's what happens. But you have to take that leap of faith based on experience. And we don't teach that anymore. You could go all over this country and find very few high school or college instructors who teach their students how this operating system works. And once you think it's magic, well, then you look for any crazy answer, whether it's government or this, and we're in trouble.
We are. So what are some of the things that you think would, according to the operating system, ways that would facilitate jobs? Because obviously, giving billions of dollars to a Goldman Sachs or some big bank, it doesn't seem to be working. Of course, they would argue the unemployment rate is dropping, but what do you suggest? What would be your thoughts on the ways to really create jobs?
Based on what we've learned, entrepreneurs flourish when their taxes are low, when they have confidence in the future, when regulations are reasonable. You've got to have regulations, but when they're reasonable,
right,
and when it's a level playing field. When you don't have a Goldman Sachs, for example, that can do things the rest of us can't. When you create conditions like that, more or less stable environment, they're able to project their costs.
Right.
With Obamacare coming online now, nobody knows what their costs are going to be. So you create conditions in which people around this country wake up in the morning and say, hey, I've got an idea for a business, or I think I can expand the business I've got. It happens.
Yeah,
it simply happens. You get out of the way.
It's organic and just.
It's organic. But that's what people aren't being taught. And so they're susceptible to every crazy thing. You know, if I said to you, if you want to make a phone call, slam your cell phone on the table, fling it across the room.
I'll make a
and
call
if it
on
doesn't
your
work, and if it doesn't work, I say, oh, well, next time slam it harder.
Right.
And that's what you've got. We keep coming up with things, or the government does, that make absolutely no sense.
Well, and this is just my opinion. It seems to me like the government or the politicians are saying things that make us feel warm and fuzzy, like, oh, well, this is going to fix it. And the truth is, if we really knew the underlying, again, going back to your operating system analogy, if we really knew that, we could look at these initiatives right away and go, that's just not going to work, right? And to what extent do you think that the lack of progress has to do with our tax code? I know it's kind of a call from left field, but it seems that the tax code is one of those pieces that's so cumbersome and daunting that from an entrepreneur's perspective, I don't even know where to get started.
Yeah, it's terrible. But there's another point, and you sort of alluded to it. What I believe so many of the people in Washington are trying to do is to change the operating system. They want to go from a free market economy to a kind of command economy. Yeah. Not a Russian economy, but a kind of command economy in which the government is in charge rather than the free market. They don't want to say that.
Of course not.
But that's what they're doing. And so if the free market is in trouble, actually that's okay with them because it will push people in the other direction. So what you've really got is a kind of civil war in the United States.
Wow.
You have a great number of people who are trying to change the operating system without saying so. And that's one reason they keep doing things. I mean, they're not stupid, okay?
Of course not.
That's why they do things that simply cannot possibly work. And there's an old, when you study Russian history, before the Russian Revolution, the revolutionary slogan was, the worse the better. When things get bad enough, then we have a revolution. Well, you make the free market economy look like a bigger and bigger failure, people are open to something else.
Well, and we may get a revolution coming up here soon. I mean, we've talked about it on Power Trading Radio, which is like, you know, I think there needs to be one. We need to implement some great change across the board. And you know, you had talked earlier, a lot of it has to do with the officials that we're electing and putting into office. And, you know, is there a better solution down the road? We don't know. What I do encourage you guys to do is go out there and go to thecureforpoverty.com. You got it here full screen. TJ, my chart master, will be now the webmaster and bring it up for us. It's called The Cure for Poverty. It's an ebook out there. You can get it for your Amazon Kindle, iBooks, the Nook. It's really expensive. I don't know if our listeners can afford this. It's a $1.99. I don't know if that's a limited time thing, but I know you have it. Nope.
We did it that way to make it very easily accessible to people and especially to students.
Wow. Well, great. It's one of those pieces you guys should read, and I think that the more we understand about how the system operates, the better our choices and decisions, not only in making a business, but in running our life and understanding this political system get.
I agree.
All right. Now, going into, right now we start this season of massive ads on TV, promoting one candidate, promoting the other. As we kind of go through this election year, from a market perspective, do you have any thoughts on how this election year might impact our markets? I know it's a random question.
It's a random question. I think we're living in a house of cards. Now, if you've got a house of cards on the table, and we don't want that knocked over, we can be careful not to bang the table. We can make sure that no one slams the door, but then a car backfires outside and the thing goes over.
Right.
We're living in a period now when next Tuesday, some bank you never heard of in Luxembourg or Shanghai goes down and takes everything down with it. Or the Iranians could do something stupid. At the CIA, I had a framed plaque on my office wall. It was a quote from President Eisenhower. He said, "The surest way to achieve strategic surprise is to do something absolutely stupid." Because you never see it coming. Well, you know, someone out there could do something stupid. So my concern...
If you look at the storming of the beaches of Normandy, that's exactly what happened, right?
My concern is that something can happen between now and November that no one sees coming. And that can change everything. What I tell people when I do my lectures is when you vote in November, the issues you vote on may not be the ones you think you're going to vote on. You know, in the 2008 election, no one thought we'd be voting in the middle of an economic crisis, but we were. So the answer is if you're living in a house of cards, it may be okay, may keep it up for a long while, but boy, something's going to happen at some point and the thing goes down, and that's what's so frightening.
Good. I'm curious, I was just wondering what those thoughts would be. Certainly with a book like The Cure for Poverty, it sounds like you're curing poverty, but it's much broader than that. It's saying let's look at our economic system, see if we can implement some change, and really understand how things work. Again, if you'd like to get a copy of that, you can go to thecureforpoverty.com. The book is it's an ebook, only $1.99, and there's also a whole bunch of other ones. If you go out to stormkingpress.com, you can get some of those other topics I was mentioning. The author of those is Herbert Meyer, president of Storm King Press. And again, he's got a pretty big background here and a lot of great books out there. Herb, thank you so much for being on the program today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. We'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're diving into the housing markets with Diana Hill. We've got a lot of interesting questions from you guys regarding foreclosures and all kinds of debt stuff going on with houses. We'll look at those numbers when we come back on PowerTradingRadio.com.